Myles Lewis-Skelly stuff needs to stop, man. Like, I can't believe what I'm hearing. It's absolutely mad to think that Myles Lewis-Skelly is in a position at 19 years old that's been left out of the England setup and now needs a move away from Arsenal. I don't know how we've got here. He's played enough minutes this season to probably keep most squad players happy, which I think is fair to say what a 19-year-old player is at Arsenal right now. And I think we need to discuss it. I think there's an agenda at the moment that anything that Arsenal are doing that people don't really like, they're now trying to go and nitpick at everything, whether it's set pieces, whether it's should have done better here, whether it's Saka hasn't scored a goal or assisted a goal in a certain amount of times, whether it's everything. I don't really get it. And I'm normally an Arsenal fan who tries to keep it balanced and tries to understand where people are coming from. I welcome all opinions on Arsenal and football. I think it's really healthy and the debate is good. But let's just be real. It seems like there's a big pile on at the moment. And maybe it's because Arsenal are doing well. Maybe it's because Arsenal right now are in a position where top of the league, haven't been playing scintillating football at times, but certainly have been doing well, getting across the line and winning games of football. Top of the Champions League, top of the Premier League, and a lot of rival fans don't like it. So the only thing they can do right now in an international break is talk about, oh, the Arsenal left back who didn't get picked. He didn't get picked because he isn't playing first team football. I listened to Thomas Tuchel. Now let's make up a rumor to suggest that he wants out. Now, I've got no doubt that there are teams circulating looking at Myles Lewis-Skelly. I don't think that's a madness to suggest. I don't think it's a crazy statement to make. What I will say is Myles Lewis-Skelly, from my understanding, is fairly happy at Arsenal. There's been no news in his camp that he wants to leave. There's been no rumours circulating that Myles Lewis-Skelly has stated he's unhappy at Arsenal. There's not been any rumours suggesting that he's unhappy that he's not got a first team place anymore. Myles Lewis-Skelly plays for Arsenal Football Club. On the one hand, we're told we don't have a squad. Now we build a squad. He's unhappy. Which one is it then? Because Myles Lewis-Skelly, in my opinion, right now, is one of the most exciting talents at Arsenal. At 19 years old, he's got the world at his feet. When you can do the stuff that he does and have the attributes that he has, I don't think there's many that can look at the outside looking in, use the eye test and show what you believe is a very, very technically gifted footballer that's playing out of position at the moment anyway at left back. In the last 12 months, I would say Lewis-Skelly is more than happy with the start to his career as a footballer. In fact, I would say that's an understatement. He's managed to break through into the youth system. He's been seen as one of the ones from Hale End that's come through at the Sober Training Centre and has been noticed and noted as one that has a future with the club. Then he starts to get minutes. Then he starts to play into the first team. Then he starts to hold down the position of left back whilst Calafiori is injured. Then he starts to play Champions League games. Then he gets called up to the England squad. He makes his debut. He scores on his debut. He continues to play week in, week out for Arsenal. Scores a very, very good goal against Manchester City with, of course, the iconic Haaland celebration. Then what happens is he takes Arsenal as left back, holds down that position, gets us to a semi-final of a Champions League, and is part of the team that beat Real Madrid along the way. I would say that's a pretty good first 12 months in the first team at Arsenal. I wouldn't say that was a player that looked unhappy. Then you fast forward a few months, Calafiori comes back, Arteta is in favour of Calafiori, and let's hands down say, rightly so. Calafiori's been excellent. Calafiori, in fact, has been so good at Arsenal consistently this season that he's turning a lot of the opinions about him around, including one from myself. I wasn't sure about him. I didn't think he was quite what we needed. Wasn't sure if he was a left back. Wasn't sure if it was a centre half. Wasn't sure if he was actually better going forward and needed to be pushed up further along the pitch. But let's be real. We're not talking about Calafiori. He's been good. But Myles Lewis-Skelly still played games for Arsenal. Myles Lewis-Skelly has still started games. Myles Lewis-Skelly will continue to start games for Arsenal. He will continue to be a part of the Carabao Cup squad. He will continue to play games and be brought on in the Premier League games. And he will continue to do exactly the same in terms of rotation in the Champions League. So I don't think this is a madness statement. This is not the first time that an England manager or an international manager has failed to pick an Arsenal player because they're not currently playing enough first-team football. It is not as bizarre as what people are making out. And some of the people that are going over the top with this in the media Oh my God, he's dropped him. Have you heard what he said about him? He's going to have to make a move. Chelsea want him. Man United interested. West Ham, Everton, Fulham. I'm thinking that is just rumours. It's just rubbish. It's the international break and you man are bored. That's what it is. The media have got nothing to talk about. So what they want to do is take a little bit of a snippet of an interview and make it topical by using the player. And I think it's wrong. I think it's wrong. I think they're trying to unsettle Myles Lewis-Skelly. I don't think he is unsettled at Arsenal. I don't think he is frustrated that he can't get into the first team. I think there's that genuine question mark over what do I need to do to get back into this side? But everyone's got that. Odegaard, Eze, they're fighting for that role. Martinelli and Trossard are fighting for that role. Ben White and Timber are fighting for that role. When Havertz come back, he'll fight with Gyökeres to fight for that role. Zubimendi and Rice have got Norgard and Marino that are trying to force their way into this side. Ethan Waneri, Max Dowman, both coming through. Youngsters, as is Myles Lewis-Skelly. They're all trying to fight for their place. So I don't see why they're all picking on Myles Lewis-Skelly. It's very bizarre. I don't get it. I don't know where it's come from. And I wouldn't mind if Myles Lewis-Skelly had come out in the media and had said, I'm a little bit unsettled in the fact that I haven't been picked. I might have to look at my options. I'd totally be all right with this. I'd say, wow, okay. Didn't expect him to say that. Didn't expect that to be the case. But from my understanding, he hasn't said this. From my understanding, the camp are not happy. Myles Lewis-Skelly's camp are fine with him at Arsenal. Myles Lewis-Skelly is a massive Arsenal fan. He's more than happy to be a part of this squad. He's more than happy to fight for his place. And from what I understand, signing a new contract long-term has made me believe that he's quite happy long-term to be at Arsenal. Now, the other thing to this is, if Thomas Tuchel has suggested that he cannot pick Lewis-Skelly this time because he's not playing enough for Arsenal, I would actually sit back and go, do you know what, fair play. Because Thomas Tuchel has decided that if you're not playing regularly for your first team, I can't allow you to play regularly for England. I really don't think that's a bad thing. And it's why we've seen over the years Marcus Rashford not get picked when he was out of favour. Jadon Sancho not get picked when he was out of favour. Jack Grealish not get picked when he was out of favour. This is no different. But for some reason, Myles Lewis-Skelly wants to leave Arsenal now because he can't get picked by Tuchel. Now, I will go one further and say that he might make the plane for the World Cup squad still. We don't know that he won't. There isn't a massive amount of quality left-backs that England possess. Luke Shaw still gets the nod half the time. That shows you what state we're in at left-back. Tyreek Mitchell probably deserves more of a mention. Lewis Hall deserves more of a mention. And then, of course, you've got Myles Lewis-Skelly as well. I think right now, there's no worries and there's no concerns. With Lewis-Skelly, I look at the attributes. I look at his strengths and weaknesses. And I do see a future in midfield. Now, we know as the youth set up through how Lendy came through, was playing in central midfield. Ethan was a little bit further along in the field than him. He was much more attack-minded. But Lewis-Skelly was playing in midfield. Now, we look at Rice, Norgard and Zubimendi, and they can all play in the six. Rice can do that box-to-box role. Marino, Ethan, Odegaard, Eze are all a hell of a lot more attack-minded. I think if Lewis-Skelly goes into midfield, he's the only natural replacement for Declan Rice. Now, he's not that level. There's going to be a drop-off, right? However, if I look at the athleticism, if I look at the physicality, if I look at the strength, if I look at the drive on the ball, I think Lewis-Skelly is perfect to go into that Declan Rice role. And I'm not saying that we have to wait until Rice gets injured. I'm saying rotate him a bit. Rice can't play for the next 20 games in a row. We're going to have to rotate. So why not bring in Myles Lewis-Skelly into midfield? Now, some will be screaming at me now going, well, he's not going to get into the England squad then because he's not going to play in midfield. He's going to be the left back. But he can still play left back if Calafiori gets injured. Now, touch wood, this doesn't happen. But Calafiori's injury problems last season were awful. And I'm amazed, and some are, that he hasn't actually had more of a knock yet. I hope he doesn't. I don't want any of our players to get injured. But if he was to, are we saying now that Nkapie is the backup left back? And if that's the case, maybe Mikel Arteta sees that the long-term future for Myles Lewis-Skelly is, in fact, midfield. Now, that might then mean long-term that Thomas Tuchel might not think about Lewis-Skelly at left back because he's not playing there for his country, and that would also be fair. But Lewis-Skelly has got an unbelievable chance of being a massive part of England's future, and he's definitely got a part of Arsenal's future. The clubs that are interested, let's just say it how it is. He probably would be silly to leave Arsenal. However, if he wanted to go and seek first-team football, he would have to go to a West Ham. He would have to go to a Fulham. He would have to go to a Leeds or a Wolves and be guaranteed first-team football. I don't think he wants to do that. He's happy at Arsenal. If he goes to Chelsea, he's not going to play ahead of Cucurella. He's not going to play ahead of Enzo Lavia or Caicedo. That'd be a stupid move for him. Why sit on the bench at Chelsea when you can just sit on the bench at Arsenal now? If he moves, it's to be first team football to get into the England squad, apparently. So the Chelsea fans that are like, oh, this is hilarious. He wants Chelsea. Well, he doesn't want Chelsea because he ain't guaranteed to play for England if he goes to Chelsea and sits on your bench. I just don't get it. I find it weird. I find it bizarre. And that when it's an Arsenal player, it's like blows up with the media. I don't get it. Myles Lewis-Skelly has an unbelievable future, as does Max Dowman and Ethan Nwaneri. And let's just leave him to it. There's a lot of people that want to jump on the bandwagon here. He needs to move. Why? He's getting game time. He's played an unbelievable amount of minutes. Same with Ethan Nwaneri. Yes, I'd like to see him more. But last season, he got 10 goals as a 17-year-old in his first season at Arsenal. I'd say that's pretty good. I've seen contributions from Max Dowman I did not expect in pre-season and the start of this season in the first 11 games and in the competitions in the Carabao Cup and the Champions League. I didn't expect him to be playing in the Champions League. I didn't expect him to be brought on in the Premier League games. I thought he might have started a few Carabao Cup games here and there, but that was it. Ethan Nwaneri and Myles Lewis-Skelly were in that boat last season, and they look at what they ended up doing. Ethan, across all competitions, scored 10 goals. Probably should have played more when Ødegaard was out in the early stages of last season. And Myles Lewis-Skelly was playing every single league and Champions League game as a left-back and took us along with the guys back to the semi-finals of the Champions League, which is just incredible. I just think we need to calm down a little bit. That's all I'm saying. Do me a favor, people. Hit like. Make sure you hit subscribe. We're on the way to 60K. So let's make sure we get there together. Be a part of the 12-man community. If you would like to join as a member, you can do as well. And we'll see you next time. We're out of here, people.